Hey guys, this video is about dialing and how to be successful when dialing. I think the number one thing that I think sets apart someone who's really good at dialing from somebody else is the mindset in which they approach the dial session. So if you're trying just to, I guess, milk it out for all it's worth and you're making 5 dials and then you're going and getting some breakfast and then making 6 dials and going and checking the mail and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be very hard. If you sit down and think of these clients as somebody who's requested coverage and wants insurance, you're going to have a much easier time dealing with whatever you're dealing with when you're on the phones. I have up there in the download section, you can click on that, and it's how to set more appointments, and it's a PDF of some ideas on exactly how you dial and some things you can do to be more profitable, such as switching up your dial patterns, triple dialing each lead, and things like that. If you want to set more appointments, though, my first advice is to call them a couple times and then just go stop by their house. Every year, people are less and less likely to answer their phones from phone numbers they don't know. So by dropping by their house, you'll really set yourself apart as a business professional. So that's one thing that I would suggest. The other thing that I wanted to bring into your guys' mind is they say that 80% of this business is just how good you are on the phones. So it's by far the most important thing that we do is dialing the phones. And I think that the energy, the intentionality, and the intensity that we bring to dialing the phones is what sets somebody apart that's good to somebody who's great. I wanted to go over a couple things. So the first one is you need to set aside and put it in your schedule what time you're going to dial. And the more you can make this an uncompromising thing, the better. Because a lot of people that I've seen will dial for an hour and then call it good for the day. They'll call for an hour and tell themselves they're going to call for an hour later in the day and never get around to it. Or in the beginning of the day, they're saying, I'm going to dial, but they keep putting it off and off and off and off. And then at the end of the day, they haven't made any calls. So setting up a certain time each week to dial is by far the best strategy, and putting it in your schedule and holding yourself to that. So most successful agents at FFL call on Mondays, and then they run appointments on Tuesday and Wednesday, call on Thursday, and run appointments Friday and Saturday. So the top producers, that seems to be what they're doing. So that would be a good place to start, and then to adjust from there. I think that the best thing you can do is track your dials. So what you do is every time you make a dial, you do a tally, okay? Boom, 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 boom. You can also go to the download sheet go to the downloads and get the FFL tracker is what it's called in the downloads, and you can track your dials that way. What you want to track is dials made, how many dials you've made, how many you contacted, how many appointments you set, and how many you have as a callback. So track dials made, contacts, appointments, callbacks. From there, we can kind of see what's going on. So if you've called for 3 hours but you've only made 36 dials, something's going on where you're either staying on the phone way too long with these people, or you're just you're calling and then doing something else, calling and doing something else, so you're distracted during your dial time. If your dials to contact ratio isn't very good, it's usually because, let me try to think. It's usually because you're either just calling them once through, you're calling at a bad time of the day, you're not changing up what time of the day you're calling, you're not triple dialing. There's a lot of things that we can adjust when we see that. If you're having good contacts but you're not setting appointments to those people, then something's wrong with the presentation or what you're giving off when you're dialing. So by tracking that, we're able to see and help you figure out where you might be missing the mark on the dials, which is your most important part of the business. So that's something that we need to fix as soon as possible. Doubling and tripling dialing the leads, that's like a call, hang up, call, let it go to voicemail, call again. If you call somebody 3 times in a row, the majority of the time they'll answer the phone. So people who don't answer their phone, if they get triple dialed, sometimes they answer. So we just got to keep changing it up, right? We can also call from a block number, and it's funny that someone will not answer a number that they don't know, but they'll answer an unknown number. But it happens. So um, the other thing I want to tell you is door knock these people the same week that you get them. So call them 2 days in a row, twice a day, and triple dial them and leave a voicemail. But then go door knock them, right? And don't wait till the lead's 2 weeks old to go door knock it. Go door knock it in the same week that you received it, and you'll have greater results there. When you're calling, I would stress, try not to seem like a telemarketer. So the way that I'm speaking right now is too fast for the phones, okay? So when we think about a telemarketer, they're fast talking, they're fast, they're short with the way they speak, they're high energy, they're high tone, and they just seem like they're trying to get you, you know? So I try to be the exact opposite when I'm on the phone. I keep my tone low, my voice low, and I just seem really controlled. Hey Rick, this is Zach. You filled out that thing on Facebook about the funeral and final expense coverage. I'm just getting back to you. They have me dispatched in your area next week. I'll be out there like Monday and Tuesday. Do you have any appointments going on Monday or Tuesday? So I don't seem like I'm a telemarketer. I don't seem like I'm pushy. I don't seem like anything like that. I call them by name, and I'm just slow and controlled, and I'm in total control of the conversation when I do that. I'm super assumptive. I don't really ask if I can have an appointment. I tell them I'm going to stop by. If they give me any kickback, then I'll tell them I have to stop by. So I don't like give them any wiggle room. I'm super assumptive when I'm on the phones. The next thing I'd say is write down any objections you get when you're on the phones. So if you're sitting there and someone beats you, right? Write down what they said to you and what you couldn't overcome. And when you hang up the phone, just set that aside, right? And then keep going through your phone calls. Once you're done with your dial session, go over the go over the things that people said that you got stumped on, and try to find 2 things you can say if someone says that again, and just memorize them, right? 2 things, 2 things, 2 things, because there's only probably about 5 or 6 things that people say, and there's almost zero originality to them. So by having a couple rebuttals, you can overcome like everything that people say to you on the phone. And don't get beat by the same thing twice. So that's the concept there. If you can't think of a way to overcome it, or you want some help, call your hiring manager and ask them how they get over it, because your hiring manager is doing this and has probably been doing it longer. So they're going to be able to give you some suggestions and some pointers of how you can get over those things. Some of my favorites is when someone gives me an objection, I say, you know what, since this is non-medical, so they don't want to meet with me, right? Since this is not medical, the only requirement is that somebody lays eyes on you. Does that make sense? They'll say, yes, that's why I have to stop by, right? So, I mean, that one overcomes the, can you send it in the mail? I don't know, I'm so busy, I can't meet, things like that. The next one that I use a lot, if someone doesn't want to meet with me, is I'm like, you know what, that's totally fine. The only thing is I'm actually required to drop it off to you just to release our company from any liability in case you were to drop dead. Does that make sense? They'll say yes, and then I drop by. I always like to use they've got me dispatched in your area tomorrow and the next day. What time do you normally get home from work? Or if they're old, I'll say, they've actually got me dispatched in your area tomorrow and Wednesday. Do you have any doctor's appointments tomorrow or Wednesday? Do you have any other appointments tomorrow or Wednesday? Okay, I'll drop by between my appointments. It should be somewhere in the ballpark of between like 3 and 5. Okay? The next thing that I think would contribute to you being better on the phones is making sure you tie down these appointments. It doesn't really count. Appointment doesn't really count unless the client's there, right? So it does you no good to set a bunch of appointments with the client not being there. So the tie down is the most important part of the call. What I say to tie the appointment down is right. I just tell them, hey, could you grab a pen real quick, write down this. Our meeting is Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'll be there between 5 and 5:30. My name is Zach Egan, and the confirmation code is E3576. That's E3576. And just make sure to have your medications out so I can see what you're taking to see what best you can qualify for. Does that make sense? They'll say yes, and then I'll say, okay, I'll see you guys at this time at this place. I'll verify their address too, so that's another tie down. Okay, I have your address as 123 Fate Street. Is that correct? They're like, yes. I say, okay. Now, will I be able to see your house? I mean, I'm going to be getting there at 7. It'll be dark. Is your house number well lit, or what cars will be in the driveway? So by me saying this, they're going to give me a description, and they're way more likely to be there if they give me like kind of directions or tell me what it's going to look like when I get there. If they don't have a pen and can't take my number down, what I'm going to do is as soon as I hang up the phone, I'm going to text them and I'm going to say, hey, Rick, this is Zach with the mortgage protection. I've got you down tomorrow at 5:30. I'll be there between 5 and 5:30. I'll see you then. Usually if they're on the phone with you and you send that to them, it takes you like 1 minute. So 1 minute after your phone call, Rick will send you a text and it'll say, I'll see you then. Rick's going to be at that appointment. If he's not, he's going to text you to cancel rather than call you. If you're in that area, you can choose to ignore the text and still show up to his house. Okay? So that's the benefit of that, and it's a good tie down. If Rick forgets when your appointment is, but it's important to him, he'll look on his text and say, okay, that's at Tuesday at 5:30. Okay? So that's why I do that. Be fast on the phones. Okay, so sometimes when I see people, they'd say they called for 3 hours, but they only dialed 36 different people, and I'm like, how the heck did you only make 36 dials in 3 hours, And part of it is they're just dialing them super slow, and they're getting distracted and they're doing these things. Call the lead as fast as you can. Get good at dialing numbers fast. Keep some earpiece in your ear and just dial it so you don't have to take that time to put it up to your ear. And then once you're on the phone with the client, don't take a super long amount of time. I would say you want one script that's your average script that you get whether they're a smoker or not and what medical problems they have. And then you should just have a quick set script that if someone's busy, it's like, oh, that's totally fine. I just need to schedule the time that I can drop this by while I'm dispatched out there tomorrow. I could stop by between 5 and 7. What time will you be around? Right? So that's a very fast set appointment. They've got me dispatched out there. I'm here to drop off the information. They have me dispatched out there between 4 and 8 p.m. I don't have any like set appointment times, but I can just swing it by. What time are you going to be home tomorrow night? Okay? So that's a quick set appointment. You shouldn't be on the phone more than like 1 to 3 minutes with these people. If you are, I would say you're doing something wrong. Dial fast, focus, and knock it out. So some people like to, call every day and set a couple appointments up. I think that this is like, ripping a Band-Aid off of a wound slowly. It's like pulling your hairs out. So I would say dial as fast as you can, because the faster you dial, the more dials you make, the faster you can make appointments. Stay focused, because if you don't have any time that's lapsing between each dial you make, you're going to make way more dials than everybody else. And then knock it out. I mean, if you can set all your appointments in 4 hours, you're going to enjoy dialing more than if it takes you 8 hours to set your appointments. So focus and just knock it out as soon as possible. Pick up momentum and just dial. Get your appointments and go to those appointments and help people. Hope it helps, guys.